Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Banner and Backbone, centering the American discussion. Today is episode 4, Protest Preparedness.
Yeah.
And I'm Nick Parrow, joined by my colleague and co-host here at Banner and Backbone, Shane Yurick, who I just moved up into the top. And then we have joining us is our other colleague, friend, and director at Centered America, one of the two directors at Centered America, Sherrod Swaney. And welcome back, Sherrod, and welcome, Shane. Good morning, both of you. How are you today?
Doing very well. Good morning. It's great to be on again.
It's good. Good day. Off to a good start. And just got back from walking the dogs. Had some rain yesterday. Still smells like not desert here in Southern California. So happy to be here with you guys, and let's get going.
Good. It hasn't really rained that much here in Arkansas, but I've been off grid quite a bit for the last few afternoons and doing some detoxing of my own away from the computer, getting some time to myself, doing physical work and doing stuff for myself and my family though. So I feel really good about it. And it's good to get some time off. We all need it. Just a reminder, everyone, take some freaking time off. Like, we rotate troops on the front line for war, like when we're in combat situations. They want to treat this like a combat of some sort. So we then need to see ourselves as soldiers of freedom or freedom fighters, or similar to our founding fathers who were freedom fighters. We go on offense, and we stick to our causes, and we fight for our freedoms. And we don't bow to stupid tyranny and stupid acts of aggression. So this is us helping. This was me resetting. So troops on the front line, get reset. Think of yourselves in that way too. Like, if they want to treat it like a war, treat yourself like you're fighting for freedom, because you fucking are. We all are. And it's okay to take a break, because sometimes we need it.
It kind of reminds me of something that I'm doing. I actually did something similar. I just bought this thing called a brick. Not sponsored, but it's this little device, and you use it to lock yourself out of your phone. And you just scan it like Apple Pay, and it makes sure that you can just have different apps blocked so that you can take time to really ground yourself. So what you're saying, taking that reset, I think it's a good thing to have something like that, or just set screen time stuff for yourself so that you're able to kind of actually ground yourself and reset in that way.
You guys are...
Oh, go ahead, Shane.
I was just, you guys are like, so you got such better things than me. You're talking about being soldiers on the front line, and I'm like, oh yeah, we got to be better than the fascists. We don't have Pervitin, the meth that Nazis took in World War II, so they never had to rest. And I know the MAGA, they're all on drugs. And then Sherrod's like, oh, I got a brick. And then my brain goes, yeah, you just throw it at your phone. I just got so much.
Just smash your
just
phone.
different wavelength than me this morning. I love. Anyway, I just had to add something.
Yeah, no, it's like this little 3D printed thing, and it just says the company's called Brick, and you just scan your phone, and it's lets you take a little reset.
That's nice, cool. Actually. That's because, like, a lot of times I feel like people don't even have like the ability to like disconnect. It's like, oh, I don't want to be on TikTok. I don't want to open my TikTok, but like, if my friend texts me a video or whatever, I open it up. I'm scrolling now,
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So like when I'm going to school, I'll have the physical device at my house so that like I can only go back in my phone when I get home.
I like that.
Nice. Yeah. Like, as a parent too, having things like that for yourself is also really good, because then you're showing good habits to get a punishment when you put a time on your own phone. So it's probably something I'm going to start doing, because I spend too much time on my phone sometimes, a lot of the time. But to teach your kids device safety by modeling it yourself, That's probably the
Yeah.
best form of parenting you can do right now, especially
Yeah.
wipers and all this shit become more common and gross. But that is that's our little bit way saying hi this morning to all of y'all. Is do some online protection as we get ready to discuss physical preparedness and online preparedness and just general social preparedness for when you go to protests and to rally events and Sherrod and Gavin and the team at Centered America and all that they do. One of the big things that they have been working on is protest safety and preparedness practices and techniques and documents and ways to know how to be set and ready for a protest and to take care of yourself and others around you, and to be patriotic and peaceful while doing it, and showing your pride in America, and your pride in your values and what you're fighting for. So, Sherrod, I want to give you a bit of the floor, and if you have any links for me too, that you want shown up for Centered America's website itself, things like that, let me know and I'll pop them on the screen so people can also see and read through any helpful docs you guys might have.
We actually have a simple one on Substack that I can send in the
Fantastic.
chat right there. And so that's one I'm gonna read because that was actually co-written by a person that was working with us, Karis Frazier. She's great. She does a lot of like history, goes over history, and she has her own Substack. And we worked together on making this protest safety and preparedness guide for people on Substack. So it's a pretty simple and easily digestible read, and I think that that'll help a lot of people right now.
Awesome. Well, let me share the screen with it, and we can give it a look through and read through, and you can highlight where the places you want us to focus in on and we'll stop on places in the document to focus in on things we find important too. So this is my first time reading through it, y'all, but that's okay. But it's important that we get this information out there because Saturday is No Kings 2.0, and the Republicans are afraid. The Trump administration is afraid of No Kings. They're afraid of us uniting and showing solidarity, and that's what we're going to do. But we want to do it safely and be prepared. So I'm going to bring on the screen here is Centered America's guide to protest safety and preparedness. So take it away, Gavin. Or sorry, Sherrod. It's a morning.
Yeah. So before I get into this, I want to let you all know that before you step into the street, to go protest, you have to ground yourself in purpose and know why you're there. Protesting is an act of love for something greater. It's an act of protesting for justice, for freedom, for dignity. And so, ask yourself, what are your goals of this protest? What message or change are you standing for? What risks are you willing to take and not willing to take? And knowing your limits. If you have a health condition, know your limits. How long can you protest? And make sure that you really are grounding yourself in that purpose. So to start out, peaceful protest is a powerful tool for change. The Trump administration continues to infringe on the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, and the right to free assembly and speech protected under the First Amendment. And so protest is an essential tool for progress. So like I said, know your mission, know what type of protest you're attending. Clearly, the No Kings protester is very organized, right? Indivisible, 5501, a lot of different organizations are attending the No Kings protests. And so, make sure you're looking into what protests you're actually going to, and then verify the organization's values, right? I think most of us know what No Kings is. This was written in April. I think most of us know that No Kings has similar values to a lot of what we share. And so, Indivisible, Women's March, make sure that you're aligned with any organization's protest. and then prepare what to bring, right? An essential part of the protest process is preparation, deciding what to wear. A lot of people suggest plain clothes. There's this whole thing with, security cameras and people tracking, taking photographs. We want to wear as plain of clothes as possible, basic t-shirts and jeans, nothing that can identify you specifically. So Karis personally wore a shirt with a quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But in the future, she was saying that she'd adhere to a more, inconspicuous look and something that's more plain. A lot of people recommend wearing sunglasses and a hat to obscure your identity. Anything that you can just use to keep yourself plain. And then you also want to
Before we
bring, yeah,
Before we go any further in that, can we talk about that a little bit? Because we've talked,
yeah,
Shane and I have talked about
Yeah.
things, what we discuss as minimizing metadata and maximizing your impact on our Palin talk. And this is one of the times that I kind of want to push back on my own advice. And this little bit of advice is, if we all come out patriotic and wearing similar heavily patriotic gear
yeah,
and overly powerful statement of American identity, I I think that creates a better statement than plain clothes at this
oh yeah,
moment. And we need a more unified front. Like, people are talking about yellow shirts or the party costumes or things like that, but those are fun and good if you know what they mean. But this is about America. Like,
yeah,
come out and show your fucking American pride and wear your flag. And I'm going to just push back on this only because, like it says at the end, it's not always necessary at a peaceful protest. And we need to make this the most patriotic, peaceful protest we can in
yeah.
American history. Like, it
No, I
has to.
agree. I agree. And I think it's a balance as well. We want to make sure that we have that patriotism, that we're wearing those American flags, that we're showing up in pride for our country and taking it back through protests, which is such a powerful tool. And I think we need to make sure that we are wearing patriotic clothing while also protecting ourselves. And that's the balance that we have to make. So I think I would say that I agree with you, Nick. I think more of uniformity is a lot better. Making sure that we're all in alignment and standing up with patriotic clothing and the flag. Um, and so I guess I'll move on
Just let
to,
me add one more thing before you
yeah,
keep going, because both you, I think you guys both kind of said it, but just to, you can get that same level of anonymity that you're trying to get by wearing, an American flag T-shirt, or even
yeah,
if you don't have that, like, wear blue jeans, a red shirt, and a white hat. I mean, like,
yeah,
like, there's a bunch of ways to do it. But like, to Nick's point, um, one of the core things, I think that behind having this centralized like message with behind our wear is unity. And you can have anonymity in unity. Even like everyone would say, oh, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I think the fact that in Portland there's armies of blow up frogs standing up to ice,
I think that's funny as shit.
I think that's the
those
best
videos are
thing ever.
hilarious.
I think it's the best thing ever. And you know what? If you have a frog costume, then
Bust it
wear an
out.
American flag as a cape, and then go as a flag. And then
No, I'm really against the flag as a cape thing, because
oh, you are
it's a huge violation of flag code, and it's a
okay.
disrespect to the flag
Um,
to wear it
wh-
in that way. So
what would
I don't like
what,
the cape. Put it
what
on a
would be
friggin'
alternative?
pole, man.
Bring it on a
Where
pole. Bring your
Put
flag
a
on a
flag
pole.
on a flagpole. Like, they
Okay,
invented flagpoles. It's a dowel that's an inch thick
copy.
and has some little things stuck into it to hold your
Yes,
flag onto. Like, they cost
copy
like
that.
$5. This is the one time I'm gonna say go buy something cheap from, like, Dollar General or Walmart or somewhere like that, or not Home Depot. Go to Lowe's or Ace or somewhere smaller, or hometown hardware store, and buy a flagpole and an American flag. Almost every single one of them sells one. Go buy one. Like, I don't like the flag. I don't like wear it. Like, this isn't wearing a flag. This is wearing stars and some stripes, but it's not a flag shape. It's not a flag design. But wearing the flag just feels wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, but also I've seen videos of the people in the frog costumes. They are pepper spraying and gassing the inside of the air
Mhm.
hole for the costume. So I want to make sure people are aware of that as well. That we don't know what these protests are going to mean for aggression from the other side, from the aggressors, right? And so it's definitely going to be something that we have to think about when we're going to these protests, is having that balance of unity, patriotism, as well as making sure you're protected and making sure that you know your surroundings.
Yeah.
If you think that, you know, there is aggression happening, take that costume off, and because they can use anything against you. And
Yeah.
then,
And also, someone, before we go on,
yeah,
to cut in real quick, someone said in the comments, Courtney, is she asked, would flagpoles be interpreted as weapons? And my statement on that is, as someone who flies a flag and has gone to protest multiple protests now with a flag on a flagpole, is I would never describe a flagpole as a weapon. It is an abuse of the use of the pole of a flag, specifically if it's holding up the stars and stripes. Like there's regulations on how those things can be used. Like you can't let it touch the ground. If you're using your flagpole as a weapon, your flag is probably hitting the ground, and you're doing something wrong in way different ways. So if they try to use that, your best defense is your patriotism, is the history of the flag, is the documents themselves, the code saying, no, I am using the flag on a pole the way it's authorized under our
yeah,
founding documents and our binding codes of propriety. So use it to your event. If somebody, I'm never going to let them, again, cow me by giving in advance and saying, oh, I can't bring an American flag because the flagpole might be construed as a weapon. Well, no, a flagpole is never going to be construed as a weapon because it would violate flag code to use your flagpole as a weapon. And if they want to go that route, then fight it. Like, come at me. Like, come at me, bro. I will defend that to the end, and I bet there's a lot of lawyers out there who would too. So I'm gonna, just to interject on that one before we go any further, is do not obey in advance by giving up your patriotism. Go
yeah,
out now stronger than ever. If everyone's just marching with a flag and a flagpole and waving American flags and singing patriotic songs, shoot at you with non-lethal rounds or chemical weapons, that is going to make the fucking news. And that's part of the point, is it's a statement. Is you part of the being prepared is you have to understand, like Sherrod said, is there might be consequences of actions. That's why we always say peaceful and patriotic, because you are not doing something wrong by going out and protesting peacefully and patriotically. But if there's violence and things like that, you shut it down, or you make sure that you are not part of it in any way, shape, or form.
yeah. And that goes back to know why you're there, right? Know that in the history books, how will this look? And what will it appear as when you are holding a flagpole, you're holding the American flag, and they are shooting at you with non-lethal rounds, right? Like that's insane. Of course, that is happening, and I don't mean to say that statement without you know, thinking about what I'm saying. It's just like
No.
we are seeing videos of people getting shot. A priest getting shot in Portland. Like that's insane. So you know, I want to move on to what we're, you know, items to bring. You know, we need to make sure that you're bringing enough water to stay hydrated, being outside for that long. Of course, it's getting into, you know, mid-October, but I know some of the states are still pretty hot. You know, it hasn't fully gotten to fall temperatures, but make sure you bring enough water to stay hydrated. Bring some healthy snacks, small first aid kit, a protest buddy or someone who knows your location. Make sure that you know other people. Start talking to other people, get connections within the protest. you really want to make sure that you are you have other people that can kind of watch where you are. You also need a written emergency contact in case your phone dies. Again, we don't know what's going to happen on these protests, but our goal is to make it as peaceful as possible, and keep it as a tool for progress. We don't want to think of the worst case scenarios, but you also have to be prepared. You could bring a mask for health and anonymity, and then cash in case digital options and payments aren't an option. So.
And with masks, to be conscious specifically of your state's laws regarding wearing masks in public settings and places, because you do not want to purposely violate the law, even if it's a stupid law. Like, don't go purposely inviting trouble, because a fascist regime will use any excuse possible to crack down on civil liberties as quickly as possible, which means do not let them. Someone said also bring a whistle. Bring a whistle. Those are good things. Something that can be really loud in case you need to make a lot of noise. And I'll even add, it's not an item, but it's something that you can bring with your protest buddy themselves, are keywords that the two of you or more have discussed in person beforehand, to say, hey, if something is going down and I see it and we need to make a fuss or make it known really quickly, what do I say to you in shorthand to let you know I'm really serious, I need your help immediately, without having to say a whole bunch of words. That way too, if you're separated and you're finding yourself and you're afraid, you're in a, like, if you, in the worst case scenarios, if you were to have to hide because you got separated from your friends, you want to know that the person coming into a room has a call and response that only the two of you know, so you know they're a safe person. Like, you have to think about, those aren't items, but they're words. Their preparedness, they are items. They're verbal items that you should carry with you when you're going to protest too, just in case. It's always good to have words that are easy for you to say to your friends.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, like when this discussion is being had, right, and as I'm sitting here, listening to you guys give this advice and everyone else in the chat, is, I think the thing that stands out to me right now, and some of the things I've seen in the chat, is just like how remarkable it is that in America we're having a discussion about how to protest safely in a scenario where we're actually having to anticipate a Stephen Miller level response to our free speech expression, where the principles that you have, that you're bringing to this discussion, Nick, with your military background and having that same idea of your head on a swivel and being prepared like you were to go into the days you went out in Afghanistan to make sure all of your buddies came back with you. While it's not necessarily the same, I do think that in a lot of ways, the fact that we're having this discussion at all underscores how important this protest is, because we are, you look around the world, and this is America's part of this global movement of the global democratic backslide that we're seeing all over the world. And we, just like anywhere else, I think, have particularly gotten a little softer when it comes to our protests and then our strategy and knowing kind of what we're up against. So I think this discussion is good because this moment it's pivotal. And like, if you're going tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Saturday, like, also take pride in the fact that we're going to be part of a protest that, we're having to have this discussion, that this protest is going to matter in the past. And I believe, Sherry, you said something along the lines of like how history is going to look back a little earlier, but history is going to look back on this protest, and it's going to be a big one. So let's make sure that we go to this protest prepared to say, when we look back and say, yeah, this was one of the pivotal moments in the history of modern America where people had to really do their due diligence. They couldn't just take going out into the streets and protesting for granted. They needed to have these safe words. They needed to have positions to meet in advance. They needed to be ready to potentially face non-lethal rounds, less than lethal rounds against, authoritarian police who are trying to dissuade First Amendment expression. So, this is all very, it gives me the feeling of historical significance that comes along with preparing for this protest and what we're seeing. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
And as a quick way to build on that too is I think it's actually our civic duty to prepare people for protests, just in general. We should always be prepared when we go to protests. And yeah, Shane, I fully understand the thing what you're saying about how it adds a weight to it that otherwise wouldn't be there. And I think going forward, we could make this the norm of how we prepare for protests, even in peaceful times, because then you know how to protest safely and properly, and everyone should know how to do that anyway. As for, there was a question that leads in with items to bring, is somebody asked, how do we prepare for chemical weapon deployments? Bring a scarf or a medical face mask of some sort that you can whip out if needed, but bring a scarf that you don't wear, and whip it out if it's needed to cover your mouth and your nose and protect your face, so that it's very obvious that the only reason you are using a scarf is to protect yourself and not as a way to shield yourself from litigation, because they're going to use it whatever. They're going to try and litigate people, and it's not going to be from small towns in most parts. Like, it's going to be places like LA or in big cities, or Chicago, or even Detroit, or Little Rock, or Memphis, or places in Texas. They're going to look to do provocation at larger events. So a majority of Americans are going to have very peaceful protests. We also want to establish that too, is a majority, like 99.99% of Americans will peacefully protest this weekend, that go out, and there will be no incidents. The other 0.0001%, the small percent that could make this a problem, this is where we need to be prepared to on the next step of how do you shut it down. And we will probably get to that, but how to safely shut down instigators from turning it into a mob from a protest. But we'll come back to de-escalation as towards the end of the discussion or later on.
I have one last thing before we go really quick, I think, to add that, and I don't know necessarily where this would fit in, so if it goes in better, but I think one of the things, like you said, a lot of these protests are going to be peaceful. The vast majority are going to be peaceful. So one of the things is a phrase I like is, prioritizing impact, right? ICE is going to do the same thing. Homeland's going to do the same thing. They're going to prioritize their impact. At the end of the day, they only have a finite amount of resources, and they're going to pick hot flashpoints to escalate where they can get the most airtime, the best footage, the most advantageous to them. So in a lot of these places, it's not going to be violent. There's not going to be any chance of violence. In these cases, if you're in an environment where you're not looking at a flashpoint, where it's like pretty obvious your small town is not going to like go out into a riot, as you're walking, it's standard practice for law enforcement to make sure that you're safe as you protest. And as long as the environment is safe and conducive to do so, like show the people who are protecting you how appreciative you are, that they're standing next to you, that they are walking beside you, that they are making sure that you are safe while you express your First Amendment rights. Because I think that right now, Now there's a lot of bad law enforcement, okay? Like there is, but there's also a lot of good law enforcement. And the people, like, you see this with the police in Portland, how you've seen a lot of examples of the Portland police standing on the right side with the protesters and actually standing up to ICE in a couple cases. So situations like that, as long as it's not, you're not at a flashpoint where like maybe approaching a line of enforcement officers might create a situation. If you can, talk to them and maybe have them, bring them into the fold, make them feel like they're participating, build that connection. And it's just overall going to strengthen, the position of your community, because last thing you want in times like this is to be at odds with the enforcement who are supposed to protect you. Even if, maybe the whole anti-authority thing right now, the law enforcement is bad. It's better if we give, roughly, if you're there walking with us to protect us, let's give you the benefit of the doubt until you start shooting at people with less than lethal rounds or pepper spray or tasing people. Assume they're there to protect you because that's what they're supposed to do, and thank them for that.
Yeah, no, I agree, Shane. I think that, a rise in law enforcement, you have to stay cautious because tensions could be rising. And we go on in the protest preparedness and safety guide, we talk about that a little bit. But that doesn't mean that all law enforcement are going to be on the wrong side. So you just have to be cautious. Also, it's the difference between the BLM protests and January 6th, which, for the Black Lives Matter protests, over 90% of them were peaceful, and they took advantage of those little hot points to bring that to the media. You can research it. It's over 90% were peaceful. And J6 was completely non-peaceful. It was violent. They attacked Capitol Police officers. People got killed. And so that's the difference between those protests, one for an actual cause, a police brutality on Black individuals, and one that was for something fake, something that wasn't rooted in reality, which is the certification of the election results. Trump saying that the election was rigged. So that's the difference between those, and we have to make sure that we're as peaceful as possible so they can't abuse those flashpoints and make it look like we aren't protesting peacefully. We're not going to this protest to, commit chaos. We're going to this protest to bring justice to what's going on right now. And that's the most important thing that we have to remember. And so I want to get into legal and safety tools as well. We want to make sure that you have resources. So there's the National Lawyers Guild for legal support, and then there's the ACLU Protesters' Rights Guide as well to keep you legally supported. The ACLU can actually help you as well, and you can reach out to them. And so those are really great tools. Nick, I have a question for you going back to the mask thing. A lot of people in Central America are debating on whether they should bring a gas mask to the protests. And I have kind of been like iffy on suggesting it or saying that they should, because I don't know what someone who has been in the military and has military service would say.
I would hesitate to ever advocate for people bringing gas masks only unless, sorry, let me start that over. I will add some caveats into this statement up front. Is if you have a disability that is you have a breathing disability or a respiratory issue, and you know that if you were to get hit with a chemical weapon of some sort and it could kill you, bring a gas mask, because that's for physical and health safety. That is your safety, and it is your right to keep yourself safe, because you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is a fundamental constitutional right that you have. And bringing a mask for safety like that is vitally important. That's your health. Don't let them tell you that you can't have, don't let people tell you can't have a mask like that for safety if you have a real medical issue or respiratory issue that you could die from it. Most of us, though, do not. if you do not have a reason to have a gas mask, I would hesitate having you bring one, because the what Trump is trying to do and Stephen Miller are trying to do is inflame and incite violence by instigating the need for civilians to come out with more military-like weaponry and tools. They want to see civilians gathered with gas masks. They want to see civilians with guns if they can, because that gives them the impetus and the underlying rationale, which would then cover them legally for hurting people, because they can, as flimsy as it may be, it would give them just enough legal cover to say, see, they were preparing for this violence. They encouraged it. They came. And it would be wrong, because it's again victim blaming. But I'm just saying, don't bring a gas mask unless you really need to. Don't bring things that look militaristic unless you need to. Unless you are in a service and you're wearing a hat or something that says like Army vet, Navy vet, World War II vet, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, something like that. But that's why I say bring a scarf. Is bring a heavy scarf, like a any sort of heavy scarf that you can wear, put it in your bag and bring that, because that can act as an impromptu face mask and gas mask, and it's much more conspicuous or inconspicuous, and it's much less likely to make you stand out. And that's, like you said, you don't want to stand out, and doing things like bringing gas masks make you stand out, and then it puts ICE or the police or National Guard, heaven forbid, be there, or the or like an active armed services outside of the Guard, federal services show up in troops. You want to make it as clear as possible that this is peaceful and that you are there demonstrating your rights, and that you are not creating an environment or escalating an environment, because appearances have power. And the appearance of us coming all prepared without gas masks and without the threat of incitement or retaliation in some way, it's less likely to happen. Because again, we're trying to do this peacefully and patriotically. But I said at the beginning of that statement was, if you have a medical need for one, you have a respiratory issue, or say you know that you are allergic to gases and types of things, because there are allergies for them and they can kill you, then absolutely bring a gas mask, because it is a medical device and you can easily advocate for yourself with a lawyer for that if the time comes for it. But don't invite violence by making yourselves look militant in some way.
Yeah.
I think this might be a helpful, and this is my thought, Nick, and definitely push back on me if this is wrong. But I think what we've gone through today, there's a lot of things you're going to want to bring. Okay. Like maybe you do have a flagpole and you're carrying a flag. What if you don't want to have it up the whole time? So for the most part, you're bringing food, you're bringing water, you're going to have a backpack. What Nick is talking about here specifically is that if you provide them with a visible, something visible that they can point to and say, they are probably preparing to attack us because they are wearing respirators. And that means they are prepared for the tear gas. So we have to assume, on the basis of they might be prepared for tear gas, we're going to have to use less than lethal rounds, because that, right? So, but what you can do is usually you're going to have a buddy. So one person is probably going to have a backpack. And also I think we talked about earlier, flashpoints. Consider where you are. If you're in a small town in Arkansas, you're not going to be facing down, a situation where you're going to be seeing a potential deployment of, tear gas canisters. Whereas if you are in Chicago, the chances of them using tear gas tomorrow in Chicago are really freaking high. Really,
Yes.
really, really high. So if you're in Chicago and you're going to go out and protest tomorrow and you have a buddy, don't wear the gas mask, but certainly stay close to your buddy and maybe have them have several gas masks in the backpack. You don't want to wear them. You don't want to demonstrate that you're going out with the intent of braving tear gas when they tell you to disperse, but you do and you should if you think it's likely you're in a flash zone, a flashpoint, be prepared. And you can do that by not visibly giving them the excuse, but having it close at hand if you need to protect your health and well-being. And I think it's finding a way to walk the line and be like, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I'm not, and yes, if you're in a zone that's probably not a flashpoint, I think the scarf would be perfect because it's very unlikely it happens, but you are prepared to get out and cover your face if you need to get away. If you're in Chicago, you're going to protest, it means you're there, you're standing up for your city against ICE, and you guys aren't moving. They've already invaded you. So you need to be ready to protect yourself peacefully, non-aggressively, but be able to stand your ground. And to do that, you're going to need to have things in place to protect your persons. And in a case like that, you're going to need a respirator. So have that person carry those things in a backpack with your food and your water so they're close at hand, but not giving them the visible justification that Nick is telling us that we need to avoid at all costs to provide giving them an excuse to escalate. And would you say that's fair, Nick, in terms of?
Yeah, and make sure, like, if you're wearing a backpack, it is visibly like a Camelback or something that is obviously for carrying water too. Like, the primary reason you have a backpack is to carry water and food and your extra battery for your cell phone. And it's a convenient place to hold a flagpole. Like, if your backpack if you have a Camelback of some sort, with a water pouch in it. Most of those hiking bags, little hiking bags, have a bunch of clips on the back that you can fit your flagpole into and you don't have to hold it. Trust me, I know. I wear one that does have that for a reason, because I walk at my protest with my cane with me most often, and I walk with a cane. If you're disabled and you suck it up a lot of times, part of preparedness is bring your medical device that you might need to help ensure you can walk the whole time. And it also showcases that people from smaller communities are coming out, like that disabled communities are coming out and showing their voices and not being silenced too. It's a small way of showing unity in other ways. So if you need them, like, I always bring my cane, partially because it helps keep my leg protected and it makes you less threatening if you're just a normal person who maybe has a disability. So if you have a disability and you use a cane, bring your medications in prescription, in a bottle. Like, bring a day's worth of medication or a couple days if you have to, just in case. Like, but don't put loose meds in your backpack, because then you look like a drug dealer, and then they'll get you for that. So don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, going on. Sure, keep going, please. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. This is why I love talking to you guys and all of us having chat together, because it's like, yeah, you want to stay prepared, put it in a backpack, like, so that they can't see it. It's just, yeah.
And I'm going to answer the question before we move on. I'm going to answer the
Yeah.
question that was just asked. Can't they accuse you of using your cane as a weapon? Yeah, if you use it as a fucking weapon. If you go out and beat people with it, they're going to accuse you of using it as a weapon. But if you have a cane because you have a disability and it's hard to walk without one, no. Like, I'm sorry, my friend, that was kind of a silly question. Like, that is literally the definition of obeying in advance, is I'm going to not go to the protest because I have a cane or a disability, so I'm not going to be able to bring it because they might think it's a weapon, so I'm just not going to go. No, fuck that. Go. Like, show that you're a person. Show that you're alive, and don't be cowed by the idea that they're going to try and use a flagpole as a weapon or as a cane. Yeah, except the funny thing about all of it, my friend, Ruined, is all of them wear body cams. If they're a police officer specifically who are going to be the ones who are at the front line in majority of all of this, all of them wear body cams, and DHS wears body cams too. They've been proven to be liars. So don't let them cow you. Don't obey in advance by saying that they're going to try and accuse you of using a medical device as a weapon, or a flagpole as a weapon, or a backpack as a reason to arrest you. If everyone shows up with a fucking backpack and all your backpacks are just full of food, water, and candy and snacks, what are they going to fucking do? What are they going to be like? Oh my God, these people are so prepared with
It's the Antifa
phone
bag.
battery, the Antifa bag of candy. No, and like, if you notice, none of the things that we have that are on this list are actual weapons. Nowhere in any of what Sherrod presented here says bring a knife or bring a weapon of any sort. Fucking don't. Like,
do not
that's
do
the thing, is it's de-escalatory if you don't have a weapon immediately. Like, you can clearly just go, like, if I'm walking with my cane and some cop comes up to me, I'll drop my cane and put my hands up and be like, hey, what? Can't accuse me of using the cane if it's on the fucking ground. So don't let them cow you.
I have a question, and maybe either of you who know the answer to this, please and share. But so, I saw earlier in the chat, and it was a good question. They were kind of talking about what to do if you have a plant who is trying to instigate violence, right? So you are doing your thing peacefully and patriotically, you are protesting, but you see someone who is actively attempting to incite violence or give the appearance of violence, trying to make it appear that there is a mob or something like that. What would you do? What do you do to protect yourself and those around you?
So that's why I say make connections in the crowd. Is if you see suspicious behavior, alert those people so that they can de-escalate that singular person. We want to make sure that if they see that person is going to incite or try and incite violence or is a plant, you want to make sure that other people are alerted in the crowd. Your buddies, the people that are going with you to the protest, are alerted so that you can go, if that happens, we're able to just have a bunch of people bring it down, because they can ruin the whole thing for everybody. So if everybody's alerted, they can't ruin it.
Yeah, and as a real life example of what this looks like or can look like is at the last Snow Kings rally. When I went to, in one of the ones that I was at in Arkansas, there was somebody who came with a big ass fucking sign and a bullhorn to try and start shit before the parade even began. But they weren't being physically aggressive. They were being very verbally aggressive, but not enough that the police were getting into it and looking at how they could step in, because the Arkansas police and city and town police were there, but they were protecting us from people inciting violence against us. And like Shane said, we acknowledge them and thank them all along the way. Is if you can, do that, because they probably haven't heard that in a long time. But the prime example of it was before the protest started, a group of people, like 12 people, immediately surrounded the dude, left an opening so that they could leave.
Yep.
Turned their backs to them and stood there. Didn't say anything, did not scream, did not yell. Well, no, sorry, they did. They got louder than that person to drown out the bullshit noise that they were making, but they did it peacefully. They did it in a way I think they started singing or chanting. They did a rally chant, and that was it. Is you go and you shut them down by being just a little bit louder than them.
Mm-hmm.
Way, way, way less escalatory, like without the anger. Because you can be loud without being angry. It's the difference in how you project your voice and how you use your voice to either scream and yell violently or project and show strength and show solidarity. And so use your voices to their utmost. If you have ever had singing lessons or voice lessons or dictation lessons or diction lessons of any sort, use them now when you go to your protest. Be loud, be clear, and always de-escalate. So my suggestion is, like Sherrod said, is have your buddies, find ahead of time, talk to the rally organizers if you are inclined to do so. And if you're able to do so, volunteer to say, if something were to come up, I am someone who is prepared and ready to non-violently and peacefully stop what might happen by putting my body in front of somebody else's. Make it known to the rally organizers that they have people who are there and ready to de-escalate, because then they feel more prepared too. They feel more secure that the crowd is pre-prepared for de-escalation and not incitement. Like they want to know from the get-go that people are there to say, hey, if something happens, we're going to make sure it gets put down peacefully by shutting them off, by isolating them, by ensuring that they are incredibly far away from the rest of the crowd. If they're trying to incite violence or you see something suspicious, say something. It's the old saying of see something, say something. Now is the time to snitch. If you see something, fucking say something.
Yeah, one sentence addition. You're not a good singer. You're not a good. That's okay. Pull a Stereo Hearts, Gym Class Heroes. Boombox on your shoulders. They're screaming. They're trying to incite violence. Pull out your speaker and blast "Fuck Donald Trump." It just don't whatever song you want. But blast music. Music is.
Bob Dylan wasn't a good singer either.
He still is.
Just play some music, and no one can scream louder than a really solid Bose speaker being held right next to their head. So not super close, but just hold it up and play some Taylor Swift, do some, drown them out.
And to the final piece of that is, if you are in a position to go live on a social media network, when something is happening, is go live, is document live.
Yeah.
Like people are saying, bring cowbells. Yeah, cowbells, kazoos. If you have any of them from back in the old World Cup, the vuvuzelas, the sticks that you fucking beat together, and the long ass mini trumpets. Like, if you got that shit, sure.
Bring my didgeridoo.
Bring your didgeridoo. Well, maybe. I mean, if you want to shake them to death. Vibrate them off the playing field.
A jaw harp.
Bring your harmonicas. What they're gonna do if you break out? If they break out in music, what you gonna do? Like, if you're in the local choir and your choir is going, or a bunch of the folks from your choir are going, prepare ahead of time with songs that if something were to come out, you guys could all go run over there and sing together in their face really, really fucking loudly. Like Amazing Grace. Just sing Amazing Grace at these people. Or anything. Just anything super pro-American or fun or culturally relevant that isn't shitty. Fuck Donald Trump. Great song. Have it on repeat. Download it so that you can easily play it on repeat where you might not have signal.
Yeah, let love be louder than the hate, right? That's the biggest thing I want to say as well, is just if there's someone that's trying to incite violence, let love be louder. Play the music, scream loud,
Okay, we're reaching the top of the hour, and I want to make sure, because if you're okay, both of you, if you have a little bit more time, I'd love to stand for a little bit longer to go through the full guide.
Sure.
I got 10 more minutes if that works for you guys.
Yeah, whatever you got. I'm glad to take it. Oh, yeah, steal YMCA back, because Donald Trump loves that song.
Turn it against him. Turn it
against them. But going into all of this, let's keep moving forward. And we've discussed some of these sections a little bit already, it looks like.
Oh yeah.
But so we could blaze through some parts.
Yeah, I'll blaze through some of them. So there was a tip circulating online saying that, sorry, my mic, that you should leave your phone at home. I don't know if I suggest that at all. I think that you should disable fingerprint or facial recognition and set a strong passcode.
Mm.
But you want to have a resource that family can track you and make sure that you have a somewhere that you can call, something you can use to contact people. So again, just be mindful of what is good for you in these protests, but I would strongly suggest disabling fingerprint or facial recognition and setting a strong passcode.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and if tensions are rising, if law enforcement is getting aggressive, and you think that it might be time to bow out, trust yourself before you attend the protest. Again, make sure that you have a predetermined exit plan. Always be on the lookout of where you can go, how you can leave, and how you can get yourself out of those situations, because we don't want to put anyone in danger. We don't want anyone in a conflict zone or a place where they can kind of take advantage of those hot points. And so stay with a group you trust. We got to this. Don't share too much personal information with strangers. Of course, connect with people, but you don't want to tell them your whole life story because we don't know who these people are. Of course, it's good to be connected to people that are peacefully protesting, but don't share too much personal information. And be cautious of street interviewers or people that are trying to, incite some sort of violence, or people asking questions, because they could be agitators. And like we said, if you see suspicious behavior, alert others and come up with a plan. And then we'll just scroll down past that point and we'll go to what not to bring. Don't bring weapons of any kind. Drugs or alcohol, of course, if you need medicine, make sure to bring that. But not loosely, because they'll think you're a drug dealer. And then make sure to, don't bring any valuables. That is just not something you want to bring. And items that could be used or interpreted as tools for vandalism. Don't bring spray paint. Don't bring something that is going to be, used as that person is trying to incite violence and they're prepared to incite violence. We don't want any of that, because that's not what we're here for. That's not what we're doing. That's not what the protest is about.
I'll add another one. Don't bring zip ties or fake handcuffs or shit like that.
Leave your
Because
fuzzy cuffs at home. Just leave them.
leave your fuzzy cuffs at home. Leave your whips and chains at home.
The Antifa cuffs.
Yeah, don't bring your BDSM tools out for this.
You can
shit.
bring the Rihanna play mix. That's cool on your speaker. That's cool. Bring that.
Yeah,
I love that. If you see any misogynists, have "The Man" by Taylor Swift ready to go, queued up.
You can play "Wood" on repeat by Taylor Swift.
Wood
you can just fuck their day up. Just do things. Play the whole new Selena Gomez album. They hate that because she's all in your back door and on the third floor. And I've listened to it quite a bit because my wife has listened to it. So I know some of the more interesting songs. But just like, and as Courtney said, just like
Karma Chameleon.
BDSM though, is have a safe word. Is have a safe word so that you know what's going on.
Bad Bunny, yes.
Bad Bunny, yeah. Play Bad Bunny on repeat because I fucking hate Bad Bunny.
So I love Bad Bunny. Oh my god.
Anyway,
yeah.
We are at two of the most important pieces of this discussion of what not to bring and how you stay informed and calm. So I do definitely want to make sure that we stay kind of serious-ish when we talk about this, especially this section.
Yeah. So lastly, quickly and follow the instruction of law enforcement officers if they arrive to avoid being arrested. And towards the end of the protest, Karis, the person who co-wrote this, noticed an increased police presence. And that led to her decision to exit because, that could lead to just tensions rising. An increased presence can indicate that tensions are rising. If your protest kind of turns confrontational, make sure that you have that predetermined exit route. But also know your rights. Don't consent to a search without a warrant. You have the right to remain silent. Film interactions, what Nick was saying, keep it live, right? Go live on your phone. It's the easiest way to have a ton of other people staying with you. online and social spaces. Screen record people's live videos if they're at a protest. That is important as well. If you are able to screen record and keep that as documentation, it does help people when they are in an unnecessary or unexpectedly confrontational zone, right? And what Shane was saying, this is an unprecedented moment. And even though that we're talking about this protest, it should be the norm that we're preparing people. This is something unprecedented that we haven't seen yet. And we want to make sure that we are staying prepared. Write down or memorize a local bail fund number. Inform someone not at the protest about your plans, like we were saying, and keep phone notifications off or disable social media location tagging. So that's what we have there, Nick. If you want to add something, Shane, as well.
Yeah, and Shane, I'll let you add in a little bit more thoughts here because I know you only got a couple more moments or minutes with us. But I do have some stuff I want to add into this.
For sure. I think that a lot of this here is like, this is going to, regardless, you got to know that we are still in America, as much as they would like us to think that this is not America in the way that we know it to be true. Stephen Miller doesn't get to dictate what our rights are. He doesn't get to declare what is anti-American, what is anti-capitalist. That is not a position he is in. Everything that has been done is anti-constitutional, and this is still our country. And that's why we are going to turn out for No Kings, is because regardless of what they would like to think, and one of the most effective parts, our protests overall have been wildly effective because this idea of like Sherrod was saying, you have so much recording, so much live streaming, that what the goal was clearly in LA in the very beginning was to create a narrative of violent protest. What we have done exceptionally well as a people is demonstrate that we have no interest in violent protest, and that we are very much committed to peaceful protest and maintaining our democratic values. And we just need to keep doing what we're doing, right? Like there is very few examples of the violent protests that they want to claim we are doing, and the consistent escalation is gonna be true. I think, another thing Sherrod said is, going back really quick to this unprecedented moment. Something I think we need to highlight now is this is the most vulnerable the regime has been at this point. Like, as someone who, all three of us who have been closely following the events of this year, daily, in terms of where their pain points are, how strong their position is, this is undoubtedly the weakest the regime has been thus far. And the fact that No Kings is coming up on the 18th, and they're struggling so much to control any form of narrative, and all of these big things are falling through, like their Gaza ceasefire deal is falling through now. Everything they've done has they consistently fail, and we are not failing consistently. We have been steady. We have protested well. And it's really easy for us to continue to do that. Just by doing these things, we can keep doing that. And we just, stay committed to that. It takes more courage to be nonviolent in the face of violence than it does to react. Like, I always think back to the marches of Martin Luther King, and when they were met with fire hoses, and they were met with bully sticks, but they linked arms and they kept marching. And that is what we need to do in this moment. We need to link arms. We need to keep marching, and we need to be defiant. And that is where we are. And I would say that, if anything, in this moment, take heart. As someone who, we spend our days following this regime, constantly exposing their lies. I think everyone in this call right now would agree that this is the strongest position we the people have been in thus far.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that momentum going. And lastly, I think if I've just been sitting on this, so I have to crack one more funny before I go, is if you want a really good example of what not to do, go and watch the movie Hot Rod. And there's a scene, the end of the movie, where they're all singing, and then it suddenly turns into a riot. Just don't do that. If nothing else, just go to YouTube and Google Hot Rod, like riot scene. It's just I just love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I'm plugging Hot Rod. Also, go watch Hot Rod. Everyone needs to laugh a little bit. So it's super. But I thank you guys for having me on for this chat. Thank you everyone in the chat for being here and wanting to prepare for this historic moment in our lives, because it is historic and we all get to be part of it and we all get to look back. Nick gets to look at his children later down the line and tell them that, he marched for their future. Me and Sherrod, we get to look back to our family, our kids, if we have them, and say the same thing. Like, this America that you live in was something that we had to protest for, that we had to march for. And we did it. And let's do it. At the end of the day, stay the course, and be defiant, keep burning bright, and we will win. So thank you guys for having me. I do have to drop out. I got to prepare for the show later today and write a couple things, but it's been awesome, guys. And thank you everyone in the chat for being here today. I'll see you later.
Man, I love Shane. Alive. We're back. Okay. I don't know what happened. Hold on. There we go.
I don't know if I want to here with us. Hopefully y'all are internet out for a second. Sorry about that. Hopefully here in the chat, please. Please stay in. It's black on the screen on the Substack side, so I don't know if we're off Substack Live anymore.
I think we are still live.
I just have frozen. Hey, CP join. CC just.
Your audio's going in and out a little bit though.
Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It's kind of like waving.
Okay. It's my
There we go.
headphones have been weird. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my headphones and my internet decided to just take a shit.
It's all right.
So apologies for losing Shane right in the middle of what he was saying. Glad you are all still with us, though. I wanted to close out the conversation or start wrapping us up here. But the big piece was filling in on the emergency preparedness part. I just wanted to also say is if you're a larger platform and a larger creator or a creator on platforms, it may be harder to limit exposing location, because you're more likely to say something about where you're at and reporting from, where you're live from. So some of these suggestions are more pertinent to those who are not creators, and not planning on being creators in any way. It's ways to keep yourself more anonymous, or disabling the phone notifications and location tagging for those types of notifications. Those definitely, but don't be afraid if you're a larger creator to talk about where you're actually reporting from,
Yeah.
because otherwise it doesn't actually have a lot of meaning. Like, that's one of the reasons I will say when I'm at my rallies which one I'm at, or roughly where I'm at, so that I can say that I'm participating, and people who know me will be able to find or follow me. But if you're just a normal person who's not planning on creating, just going out there to do your civic duty and being a citizen or participating in the democracy, is definitely don't announce your locations. That's a big emergency preparedness, is keep yourself protected as much as possible, unless it's super obvious where you are, because the historic landmarks or things, or very visible landmarks around, and then it's really hard to protect what you're saying if you're going live, just on other events. But you can do little things. Minimize that metadata, for those who don't want to add extra data points that can be collected. But otherwise, I think this has been this was an incredible guide to go through, because it's given a lot of things to think about, and easy ways for us to be ready, and have a good discussion on what safety might look like, or how to handle situations if they arise and escalate, and how to de-escalate. I think just my biggest final piece to say is always seek to de-escalate. And that is the most important act you can do if if tensions begin to rise for some reason, is to de-escalate the situation. And like Shane was saying, it takes more courage to de-escalate in the face of fear and violence than it does to be violent back, because that's the easy response. That's the easy out. That's what they want. They want violence. It's not going high or low. It's doing the right fucking thing. And that is peacefully and patriotically protesting. So Sharad, I want to give you a second here to give your last thoughts too, and make sure everybody knows where they can help support you and the work that you do at Centered America.
Yeah. As you were saying, Nick, I think that the risk that we take as creators is that we know that there is a risk. And so we know that we are sharing our location, or we have a little bit more of vulnerabilities to this regime. So the protest safety and preparedness guide is mainly for people that aren't, creators. But if you are, this is the risk that we are taking, and we're actively taking every day. And we know that. Because we care about this country, and everyone else also cares about this country, and we want to make sure that we have everyone involved, big or small, right? That can help really aid this protest and use it as a tool for progress. For ways you can support us at Centered America, we just redid our website, centeredamerica.org. We have tons of stuff updated. We have our issues tab is completely updated, as well as you can start to pre-order our shirts and merch, where you can wear it at protests. It is patriotic. We have the red, white, and blue color logo, but it's also very simple and plain, and so you can wear that at protests, and it funds care packages for veterans and marginalized communities. You can also find us on Substack, Centered America. All of our social media is just Centered America. If you look it up, you'll find it.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharad. And please become free subscribe with Centered America. Sharad and Gavin are awesome. They're doing incredible work. And I'm looking forward to having some discussions with them here coming up, continuing this discussion as always every week, but having some additional discussions with them around some of the right-wing pipelines and youth indoctrination. And so please support their work. They are doing incredible things. Today's entire presentation was because of them and was based around the work that they have helped support. And it's important to know your rights and your preparedness, and they're doing the best at it, or some of the best at it. And I also like the fact that they're younger guys who are doing this, who are showing that there is a future in democracy and a future for a constitutional America. And so I'm proud to work with you guys.
We are proud to work with you.
And thank you. And so as for our other, and he already dropped off, Shane Urich, the Firebrand Project. He is also a good friend, a good patriot, and someone who leans on his ability to question and ask and think and look into problems from different angles. And I love doing shows with him. Please support his work. Free or paid subs go a long way for him as well. He's making it full time, so help make him be able to be full time with all of us and get more Shane time. Next, myself, please support me. Free and paid subs are welcome. I'm doing a 20% off sale for the month of October, but that's my home for sometimes less political news and sometimes a lot more on the disability and awareness side. Plus it's where I do my poetry. So please come hang out, read some poetry, get some, and get a little bit of a break at times from the politics. There is a new poem coming out here shortly. I'm just finishing it up and look forward to getting that one published. And then finally, please support the network itself, Banner and Backbone. We are a rapidly growing space. We just hit over 2,000 subs, free subs with the network. We're over 100 paid subscribers. You guys have really helped build Banner and Backbone up quickly and in a very natural way, and we love it. We love the support, the help. Please share and come back for more. And I'm Nick Pero, giving you guys the ending of our day. This has been the presentation of Banner and Backbone, centering the American discussion with Centered America. And we hope all of you have enjoyed your time with us. We'll be back next week at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, I think. Yeah, that's so. 3 hours behind. Yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Join us on Wednesdays for this continued discussion as we strangle and pull the Overton window back into a place where it should be, so that we can live in a society of freedom and equality and rights, where everybody has the right to pursue liberty, justice, and happiness, and live without fear. So thanks, Sherrod. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone in the audience. Thank you for all your great questions, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right.